I'm your host, BrightLearn, and today we have a truly eye-opening conversation that you won't want to miss. We're delving into the revelations of Chris Busby, an expert in radiation science and a whistleblower on some of the most controversial topics of our time. This is a story about secrets, science, and the shocking realities of modern warfare. So, let's set the scene. Recently, Mike Adams from BrightLearn.com sat down with Chris Busby, a man who has made it his life's work to uncover the hidden truths about radiation and its impact on our health and environment. Chris is a former chemical physicist who has dedicated decades to studying the effects of ionizing radiation, and his findings are nothing short of alarming. During the interview, Chris shared his journey into the world of radiation science. He explained how his curiosity was piqued after the Chernobyl disaster, when official reports downplayed the health effects. This led him to scrutinize the studies and organizations that set radiation safety standards, particularly the International Commission on Radiological Protection, ICRP. Chris's conclusion? The health effects of ionizing radiation are far more severe than what we've been told. Now let's talk about depleted uranium. According to Chris, depleted uranium is not the harmless substance the military would have us believe. When these weapons are fired, the high temperatures create tiny, respirable particles that can be inhaled, leading to severe health issues. These particles can bind to DNA, causing genetic damage and increasing the risk of cancer and birth defects. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. Chris revealed that depleted uranium is not just a byproduct of nuclear weapons. It's a weapon in its own right. The U.S. military uses it in tank shells and missiles because of its density and incendiary properties. When it hits a target, it burns at incredibly high temperatures, destroying everything in its path. And the effects on human health? Horrific. Chris recounted stories of Iraqi soldiers found crispy critters inside tanks hit by these weapons. But the damage doesn't stop there. Chris explained that these uranium particles can travel vast distances, carried by the wind. After the 2003 Gulf War, depleted uranium was found in England, thousands of miles away from the battlefield. This means that the impact of these weapons is not confined to the areas where they're used. They pose a global threat. Now let's talk about the bombs. Chris shared his investigation into the use of enriched uranium in Lebanon and Gaza. He believes that Israel is using a new type of weapon, one that employs enriched uranium. This is based on samples he analyzed that showed elevated levels of uranium-235, the isotope used in nuclear weapons. But Chris doesn't stop at depleted uranium. He posits that Israel might be using a form of neutron bomb, a weapon designed to maximize radiation damage while minimizing physical destruction. This would explain the high levels of genetic damage observed in places like Fallujah, where birth defects and cancer rates have skyrocketed. The implications are staggering. If Chris is right, it means that the bombings in Gaza are not just about destroying infrastructure, they're about inflicting long-term genetic damage on the Palestinian population. This is a form of ethnic cleansing that operates on a molecular level, with consequences that will be felt for generations. Chris also touched on the possibility of nuclear terrorism, suggesting that while the technology is complex, it's not out of reach for those with the resources and knowledge. He mentioned the concept of red mercury, a code name for enriched uranium, and the potential for its proliferation. So, what can we do? Chris calls for a new report from the European Committee on Radiation Risk to update our understanding of the dangers posed by ionizing radiation. He urges people to support his work through donations to Green Audit, his organization, and to stay informed about the ongoing research. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. The revelations shared by Chris Busby are not just about the horrors of war. They're about the responsibility we all share to protect human life and dignity. It's about holding those in power, accountable, and demanding transparency and justice. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of BrightLearn. If you found this conversation as enlightening and disturbing as I did, please share it with others. Let's keep the conversation going and work towards a future where truth and justice prevail. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and take care.
This has been a BrightLearn.ai summary of an interview between Chris Busby and Mike Adams on December 19th, 2023. The full interview is available at brighteon.com, where you can also find podcasts and special reports by Mike Adams and other creators. Visit naturalnews.com for full editorial coverage of this interview and breaking news on critical stories that will keep you informed and aware of what's really going on.